Hi, everyone. I'm here today with Rebecca Tripp, and today is November 28th, 2020. And we're here with Acorn Life Mastery. She is one of our founding members. She's also a certified Silva Ultramind teacher, and she's been teaching it for many, many years. She has cured cancer from her body years and years and years ago using the Silva Ultramind method. And if you're not sure about what the Silva Ultramind training is, I'd highly recommend that you take her course. It is incredibly insightful. There's so much power behind it. It came out in the 50s or 60s, I think, is when it came.
1966 was when Jose first started teaching it.
Yeah, so it's been around for quite a long time. It's tried, tested, and proven. If you're part of Gaia or what's the other one that what's his name does? I can't even think of the guy's name now. Mind Valley.
Vishen is a Silva Ultramind trainer. He and I used to teach together when we first started in 2004.
So you know that this stuff works. It's really, really good. And Rebecca is here today as part of as our founding member in Acorn to give actually a free course on exactly what the Silva Ultramind is. And hopefully you get some results from it. So go ahead, Rebecca, you lead it away and let us know how everything is.
Okay, thank you, Adam. CEO of Acorn Life Mastery, and we've known each other for a while now. So I want to give you a little background on the Silva training, how I started teaching it and why it works, why over 5 million people have been trained in this technique. I was a flight attendant for many years, but I did have this spiritual awakening, which Adam talks about when I was in my mid-20s. I had a spontaneous healing of a diagnosis of cancer. And it shifted my thought to the point where I was able to realize that we are controlling our experience in this dimension with our minds. It's whatever our belief system is. If we believe we're sick, we're sick. If we believe we're healthy, we're healthy. If we believe we're living abundantly, we are. If we believe we live in lack, we do. Whatever it is that is programming our subconscious mind. So I've been studying metaphysics for many, many years because I'm fascinated by this subject. It's the big umbrella over the teaching includes spirituality, meditation, disciplines like the Tai Chi, the martial arts, bring us all into this awareness where we begin to think metaphysically rather than three-dimensionally. But the reason I started teaching the work of Jose Silva in 2004 was because he figured out get people into an altered state of consciousness called the alpha level on command. And in order for you to be a healer, a remote viewer, a manifester, consciously, because we do these things also unconsciously and by default. But if you want to be able to use your mind in a special way and consciously heal yourself, heal other people, manifest, do all these amazing things, you need to figure out how the mind works in a way that you can effectively do these things. Jose Silva spent decades studying consciousness. He was from Laredo, Texas. I was trained by his nephew, Alex Silva, who traveled the world with him. They traveled all over the globe teaching people these techniques once he started teaching it in 1966. And what he discovered is that the brain vibrates at different frequencies. And right now, with eyes wide open, all 5 senses engaged, I'm operating at the beta level of consciousness, where my brain is vibrating around 21 cycles per second. And that's what we need in order to operate in the 3-dimensional world when we're functioning. But he also discovered that there's another level called the alpha level. There's also the theta and the delta and the gamma levels they've discovered. But when you're operating at the alpha level of consciousness, where your brain is vibrating at around 10 to 12 cycles per second, you're actually using the left side of the brain, which is logic, but also the right side of the brain, which is intuition and spirituality and tapping into your higher self and higher intelligence, where you can make better decisions. But he also figured out that because of the way we're educated and trained and raised in our cultures, we are using the left side of our brain more than the right side. The right side becomes very dormant, unless you're a very creative person. If you're an artist, a writer, someone who uses creativity all day long or big part of the day, you're going to be activating the right side of the brain. But if you're an accountant, that's just facts. People that are linear, they're using the left side of the brain. And generally speaking, our educational system teaches us more to think in a linear way than a creative, intuitive way. But it's also been proven by studies that have been done that people who make decisions using their intuition make better decisions than people that are just using the left side of the brain, the logic. So intuition is a very, very underrated and very important aspect of being a human being. We also know that the most successful leaders and CEOs in the world are highly intuitive. They might even have a meditation practice that they do every day in order to tap into their intuition. So Jose figured out how to teach people to get to that alpha level of consciousness on command using meditations. I normally teach a workshop that goes for 2 days from 9 to 5 each day. And we do 10 different meditations. 5 of them are called the long relax, where we just go in and relax our body, relax our mind, and go into our. Now, when you're at your center, and you're in the alpha level of consciousness, which is around 10 to 12 cycles per second, you're totally relaxed and you're able to use your visualization abilities and your imagination in order to create scenarios and projects and situations that you desire to bring into your experience. And when you get really good at it, and the inner world becomes just as real, if not more real, than the outer world that you're taking in with your 5 senses, you will manifest it. And people who can manifest very quickly don't have those blocks in their subconscious mind called doubt, fear, the negative emotions that we build up in life because we might have experiences that knock us down and we go, oh my God, I'm not going to try that one again. Or maybe we've been told by parents or peers or employers, you're not good enough. We've been made to feel, uncomfortable about our abilities, and we question ourselves. Well, once you understand that you have this power within you to neutralize all of those negative things that you can take in, because the reality is you are just creating your own world, in that no matter what someone says to you, you can filter it through your own perception in a way that you can go. Let's say someone says something really nasty to you, like, oh, you look terrible today. You don't look well. You could actually say to yourself, gee, that person must be a bit off today to even have to say something like that to me. They're just projecting their own misery onto me. And if you're an aware person, you just let things like that roll off of you. They don't bother you anymore. The beauty of learning how to get to that alpha level of consciousness on command is that you can be in any kind of situation. It could be an accident. It could be, I was a flight attendant. Many times we would get into situations on the airplane with clear air turbulence, or, maybe a passenger was starting to act kind of strange or sick or something. And if you know how to go to that alpha level of consciousness, you don't freak out. you stay calm, because you cannot be in the alpha level of consciousness and think a negative thought. You'll pop out of it. And once it really hooked on being at that alpha level, because it's such a blissful, pleasant place to be, where you can solve problems, be at peace, be centered, you want to practice it more frequently than less frequently. So ultimately, people who know how to be alpha thinkers become very calm, very serene, very they can roll with the punches. Whatever's happening in the external world doesn't freak them out like the beta thinkers. I know you probably know a lot of people right now who are not very at peace with themselves because they're so worried about the world situation, the bad news. Well, I love that story about how none of the Amish got that horrible virus because they don't watch television. So once you understand that we're all being programmed from the time we're born, we're being programmed, and it's up to us whether or not we want to take it in, because ultimately we're in charge of our lives and we are sovereign, even though the forces that be would love to take that away from you, and they try to tell you, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to allow us to inoculate you if we want to. You have no choice. I mean, I don't think like that. I believe that no one has the right to tell me what I should and shouldn't do with my body, with my mind, because ultimately I realize nobody really knows what they're doing anyway. So why would I want them to? I mean, if they're not natural alpha thinkers, and if they're not plugged into the right side of their brain and they don't know how to make good decisions, why do I want to listen to what they want to impose on me or anybody? And that's actually what happens. Jose Silva realized this when he was teaching the courses, and he added a piece into it so that people could understand. Once you awaken to the realization that you can activate the right side of your brain, tap into your higher self, get answers from higher intelligence, it's a responsibility, because the way to make it work really well and manifest really well is to understand that you came here to help the planet. And we all have a spirit guide, he calls it the tutor, and that spirit guide will help us to put into action projects and plans that we have, as long as we're trying to help the planet and help other people. But if it's all about me and it's just for selfish reasons, so I can, hoard it, or that's a big mistake, because it stops the flow. Abundance is all about giving to receive. The more you give, the more you receive. Jose Silva figured out if you're working on a big project, you'll get a lot of help from the spiritual dimension. If it's just a little project, you don't need as much help, so you won't get as much help. But the more you give, and the bigger your ideas are about how you want to help the planet, the more you will get. And there are incredible examples of people who took the Silva training. Wayne Dyer was one. He was kind of an American guru, college professor. And once he took the Silva training, he realized he wanted to write books on metaphysics and be a teacher. He quit his job as a professor, and he went on to be a very, very, very successful lecturer and author. And he always gave credit to the fact that he took the Silva training when he was, it was very popular with many, many people that became. Esther Hicks is another one. She and her husband took the training, and Abraham started coming through them. She's very, very famous for that. But, people need to realize that until you have a desire to break free of the matrix, you could call it the matrix, like that movie, or this prison that we live in, if we just think that our five senses are it, because they're not. We're much more than that. metaphysics is a very, very interesting topic. And when you really dig into it, you begin to realize that this is a waking dream. And the mystics know this. And we're only here for a period of time. It's very short. They say when you actually pass out of this experience, that's when you really wake up and you realize it was just a dream you were having, which could be pretty exciting. They say it's a very exciting thing to do. So that's why we should not, be afraid of it. But it's very, very interesting. Just like there is no time. Metaphysical people understand that time is really something that we're creating. And it's, we can't, every minute is passing by, right? And we're living in the now. And once you become aware of the fact that if you go down to that alpha level of consciousness, which is your subjective consciousness, it's where you are when you forget that you have a body, and you forget that you have the mind, which is chattering away, the ego. Some people call it the monkey brain, because if you are plagued by this inner voice that's constantly chattering away at you in a way that you don't necessarily enjoy, like you can be obsessed by something, you can be, it's like a reel that just keeps playing a loop. And until you learn how to break that spell, and start thinking the thoughts that you choose rather than the ones that just coming in by default, you're kind of trapped in a prison. So that's the power of the Silva training, that you can free yourself, use your mind in a special way, begin to direct your life in a way that makes you happy rather than just living by default. Many people that came to my seminars over the course of the years found that they could use the technique to find their purpose in life. Because if you tap into your, what we call the tutor, your guide, and you use the mental video technique when you go to sleep at night, many times you will get the answer as to why you came here, because you did come here for a very good reason. You came here for a purpose. And it gets obscured and hidden from us because of the programming we get. And, parents and teachers have other ideas for us. They don't necessarily think that what we're passionate about is the best avenue for us to take. And I've met so many people in this life who, ended up being something they never wanted to be, but they were trying to please their parents. And that happens all the time. But then when they finally realize, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore, many times they change careers and they're happy. It makes a big difference if you're doing what you came here to do. So finding your purpose is very, very important. And it can change a bit over the course of your life, but usually there is a theme that you're interested in. Like I've always been interested in figuring out why we're here. That's why I love metaphysics, spirituality. I love teaching it. I love, studying it. That's why I wrote a book. So I'm totally plugged into it. And other things you can do with these techniques. Let's say, now we just had Thanksgiving here in America, and many people get on edge trying to think about dealing with family members because many times there's a lot of friction. Well, when you understand that you can go to the alpha level and program, because our brains are all programmed, whether we like it or not. But before you meet with people at family gatherings or even in the office, at work, wherever, you can program the meeting to be very harmonious, comfortable, loving. And if you do that and you meditate on it at the alpha level of consciousness, what you're doing, your vibration from your brain, because we're all connected in the higher dimensions, we are all one. There's only one mind, and it will affect them before you even go to meet them. But then when you have the meeting, it will truly be very, very harmonious. I've seen this happen over and over and over again. That's why this training in the 60s and 70s was so popular with real estate salespeople and, salesmen, because that's what they would do. the night before they were meeting a client, they would go to a level and program the meeting to be with the outcome that they were desiring.
Hmm.
And they got tremendous sales because of it. It was that's one of the reasons it was so popular, because it's
I
very
I can speak to that for sure. I used to commute into Toronto, downtown Toronto, and
mm,
going on, there's major highways that lead into downtown Toronto, and there's one part it's super tricky. You're coming across three lanes of traffic, and you're in a massive turn, and you're merging with two other highways almost at the same time, and you have to get in from the farthest right lane into the farthest left lane in order
mm,
to get to where you have to go to. I used to always envision as I was getting close to that, that it would just be like a gap of no cars that I could easily just switch all lanes. And it worked almost every single time that I
ooh,
would just have that vision so that I knew when I was going through that tricky part, it was just really that easy for me. And I wouldn't have, and there was many accidents that happened there just because of the way that it was designed, and I don't think they're expecting for the amount of traffic they had there. But that was one thing that I used to do a lot of the times when I used to commute into Toronto.
nice. Yeah, and think there are people, they always have a parking place.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Me too. And
Yeah.
I mean, and I would have somebody sometimes as a passenger in the car with me, and they go, "Oh, we're not going to get a place." I'd say, "Please don't even think about that," because it's all energy, and the more you believe that you're going to manifest something, but it's fascinating. Now, the mystics say this dimension is a dream, no different from the dreams that we have at night when we're sleeping and we go into cities and we drive cars and we meet people, and they seem very, very real until we wake up and we go, oh, that was a dream.
Mhm.
Sometimes you wonder, was that a dream or was it real? If it's a real lucid dream, right?
Mhm.
Well, they have figured out, these mystics, I've had glimpses of it, that this is just a dream. And that's why we can manipulate matter.
Mhm.
There are people that can fix their computers with their minds, fix their cars until they get it to the garage.
Mhm.
I mean, airline pilots have taken the Silva training, and they would all of a sudden sense that maybe they should check something on an engine, and bingo, they'd find out. It's a good thing they did.
Mhm.
Your intuition is your higher self, which can look around corners. It can know exactly what's coming down the road and warn you need to be warned, or um, point you in the direction of something that's going to be very successful for you,
Mhm.
if that's what you're looking for. It knows everything. You need to be tuned in. So, getting the Silva training, we call an attunement. You become attuned to your higher self, because when you're just buzzing around like a crazy person, racing to get things done or stressed out or in a negative state mentally, you're not tapping in to your higher self. Another way to explain it is called being in flow. Like athletes are in flow when they almost look superhuman with the stuff they can pull off.
Mhm.
um, Actors many times will say they get addicted. I took acting classes with Stella Adler in New York, and she was a famous acting coach diva who was quite the experience. But one day I was in a Shakespeare class, and the teacher started directing me as I was playing this little part. And as he directed me, I got into flow, and I forgot that I was Rebecca, and I guess I became more this character. It was it was awesome. I
Mhm.
sat down and I said to myself, this is why people will give up everything to be an actor,
Mhm.
because when you're in flow, and it can happen in many different ways, race car drivers, um, people writing books, musicians get into flow, and they just, these tunes just come into their heads. um, it's the best. That's what spiritual healers do too. They're living in a flow state where there's no block. They just know that if they can see that person in perfect health, and radiant health, which is their natural birthright, things will get better for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's being in flow. But it's, there's so many names for it. It's called the fifth dimension. It's called the Christ consciousness, the Buddha consciousness, the Atman. It doesn't matter what religion you come from. They all go back to this source energy that is saying, it's already perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got to get yourself aligned so that you can actually make it happen. And how do you do that? You go within, you totally relax, and you visualize what you desire. Now, if you spend all day long visualizing just what you desire and never looking at what you don't want, your life will change for the better.
Yep.
You'll get what you want, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, it's true. That's how it works. And that's, when I was a flight attendant, I've said this before, it was a lot, actually, it was a lot easier for me to manifest when I would get on a multi-million-dollar jet and I would imagine the pilots in the cockpit were my private pilots. And even though I was wearing a uniform, I was, floating around talking to whoever I wanted to, like I was at a party, eating the first class caviar and Chateaubriand. And it was lovely because it's in that kind of atmosphere. And then I'd open the door, and at the end of my workday, I would be in Argentina or Paris or London or Tokyo. And it was very easy to shift my consciousness. I know it's not easy if you're in the same environment every day, because that's how I live now. I retired after 35 years. That was enough. But you need to find a coach. You need to find a teacher. You need to find someone that can guide you, because it's not easy to figure it out by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can always go on my app, Inner Power with Rebecca Tripp. Right now, it's only on Apple. It should be on Android, but it's not for some reason, but it will be. But it's a free app. And if you want to listen to the long relax, it's free. You can listen to me doing the long silva ultramind relaxation, where you learn to relax your body, relax your mind, and be at your center. Now, when you're at your center, that's when you start to use active meditation in order to visualize something you desire. Or you might want to get an answer. And the way to get an answer is to relax your body, relax your mind, go to your center before you go to sleep at night, and then hand it off, whatever the question is, to your higher self, your tutor, your guide, and really mean it. I want you to know you have a guide that's working with you. And if you've ever had a close call or been warned at the last minute or met someone, very serendipitously, like, wow, I was supposed to meet this person, and it's just kind of amazing the way we met. That's your guide guiding you. And that's best friend. And you can use that to get answers at night. And you might have a dream in the middle of the night. Usually it's later in the night before you wake up. You go into that delta level of consciousness, because below alpha is theta, where you're vibrating from 7 to 4 cycles per second, and that's a dream state. And then down at delta, you are 4 cycles per second, and well, if you go to 0, you're dead. That's when you flatline. But 4 cycles per second is delta. And that's when you have part of yourself, your consciousness is in the spiritual dimension where you can really get answers. And the other part is still, of course, in the 3-dimensional world, because you're not going to leave it completely. But you're very tuned into the spiritual dimension. And like I asked the question, when I became a Silva trainer, I was trained out in Miami, Florida by Alex Silva. And I was in a room, hotel room. And I asked my higher self, my tutor, am I supposed to be married to this man? Because he didn't act like he was very happy. And in the middle of the night, I had this dream, and it was like this mist, and I could see and his people were over here, and me and my people were over here. And we really weren't meshing very well at all. We stayed married for a while more, but I could see clearly that there was a problem. And you can do that. You can ask your higher self, what is my purpose? Should I take this job? Should I leave this job? You know, anything. And your higher self knows. Now, if it's for your benefit, you will find out. But sometimes we don't know too far down the road what, like, you know, I've never heard of anyone asking their higher self, well, when am I going to die? You know, I don't think your higher self would tell you that. It's probably not to your benefit, even though maybe you were already decided before you came here. We are such fascinating beings here on planet Earth, and we have so many abilities that are untapped. But Jose Silva saw in 1998 that the next phase of human evolution that we're stepping into now, and we will become and start using more our psychic abilities, our intuition. We will solve problems in the spiritual dimension. I think we're kind of almost seeing that happening on planet Earth right now. This battle between good and evil is almost a battle between the tuned in ones who can see Earth could be paradise, and the 3D ones who just want to turn it into a prison in some way. And the two mindsets just don't understand each other, you know? It's
Yeah,
kind of
I
interesting.
think that, you know, the tuned in ones, this isn't something new. This is something that's been going on for, you know, 20, 30, 40 years, where we've really started to tune in. If you just rewind back to even the 1990s and just think about that for a moment, how many people in the 90s had started taking yoga or just meditating
Mm,
more, just
mhm.
more. And now you think about in the 2000s, 2010, on how many people are doing that worldwide now. And you want to talk about massive shifts in consciousness. All it takes is to meditate. If you would have told me in the 1990s, which is when I was going to high school, that I would be meditating as much as I am or doing yoga as much as I am, I would have told you you're absolutely nuts. There is no way. I thought it was the biggest waste of time. I could never understand it. But now that I am doing it, it is one thing that, if you're going to do one thing, this is the one thing to do, is to learn how to meditate. The easiest thing to do is just go on YouTube and just listen to meditative music. Find a certain hertz frequency that you really resonate with, and just play that and just sit there and either fall asleep if you want, because you're still getting the same thing, or use a guided meditation. Even if you fall asleep, it doesn't matter. Your subconscious is still awake. It's still going to pick up the message, and you'll slowly start to train yourself into whatever it is that you're really looking, whatever your true purpose is. You'll be drawn to it like a magnet. It'll happen very naturally, because you've already made that decision. This is something that's already here and now. There is no time, like Rebecca said. And the most famous person in the world to ever say this, and I still have a hard time wrapping my head around this, is Einstein.
Mm,
Einstein told
right.
us. He said there is no such thing as time. It's only an illusion.
Yeah.
And he even has models on what he means by that and how it is. And you can look it up, and it's hard to wrap your head around it. But when you do, metaphysics, you look at quantum physics, all these things, this is why they exist. This is true. This is truth. And you are in this prison. And, you know, if you want a good visual um, of that, if you can think of the movie The Matrix, in the first one, when you see Neo in that pod and all that fluid around him and he's attached to all those things, well, what if that was you and you're just sitting there and you don't even know it? And all you'd have to do is just do this and just spiritually raise your finger to touch the bubble, touch that invisible prison that your mind is locked into. And what if you're able to unlock it? What if you're able to, you know, what if you're the one that you know, does amazing things. And all you need to do is just figure out a way to get out of that invisible prison that you're locked into. And I'm convinced that it is there. And I have figured out on how to unlock it. Am I completely there? No. I'm probably, if you take the movie The Matrix as an example, I'm probably Neo, like in the training sessions with Morpheus in the dojo, and I'm trying to figure that out, and I'm trying to figure out how to jump from one building to the other building without falling and hurting myself, right? So I'm probably in that stage right now, but it's such, when you're able to do, what you've been able to do and how you're able to cure cancer, how you're able to do everything that you've done. If there's one tip or a couple tips that you could leave some of our people that are watching this now, do you have anything that you could offer as a tip, more so than what I've offered so far?
Well, I think in these times that we're living in, one of the most important things we can do for ourselves, if it's really eating you alive and it's destroying you in your business, your family, you've got to get rid of fear. The one thing I've learned, and I won't go into it now, but Adam knows I just had a bad accident recently. And I've learned with everything that's happened to me, and I get out the other side of it, there's really nothing to fear. A lot of people are projecting terrible fear onto other people. They're afraid to get close to them. They're afraid to go anywhere. They haven't left their houses for months and months. They may never come out. But when you understand that you're really not your body and you're not your mind, and you are creating your life experience with your imagination and the way you perceive things, you can free yourself. And there are a million paths to this understanding, but that's what really self-realization is all about. And like Adam spoke of, yoga has been teaching this for centuries. It's very, very old science, and there's a science behind it.
Mhm.
I mean, once you understand how your mind works, the subconscious being like a computer, you can redirect what you want to program in there. And for me, inner peace is the most important thing. And that's why a lot of people get on this path. They don't want to feel anxious and stressed out and not happy, a lot of times. And so they look for ways to find inner peace. And once you have that breakthrough, you realize it was always there. And the only thing that kept you from it was yourself.
Mhm.
So my
Yeah.
advice would just be take up the study of something that makes you feel good and forget about the stuff that makes you feel bad.
Yeah, I just got off a call right before this one, with Orrin Woodward. And if you don't know who Orrin is, he's one of the top most influential leaders in the world. I think he's ranked number 13 or 14th or whatever. I'm not even sure what he's ranked anymore. But and that's by Inc. magazine. So whether or not you hold much weight to that or not, I don't really know. But regardless, is that I know when I am either listening to podcasts or I'm on a live call with him, I always get some valuable information. And one of the things that he was talking about today is it doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter what you've done or what you haven't done. Right now, you are literally writing this chapter in your book. And if you don't like what's happening right now, if you're stressed, if you're freaked out, if you're scared, if you've got fear, if you've got anything that's going on right now, if it's not to your benefit, you get to physically change the chapter and continue writing. And think about what you would like to create. Think about the things that you really want in your life. And it can literally just happen like that if you believe it. I mean, that's the most important thing. We were talking earlier about The Secret and Rhonda Byrne,
Mm.
and there's three easy steps that she talks about, and many people have said, oh, this doesn't work and this is hocus pocus, but it's really simple. First you have to have that vision of what it is that you want, so you need to define what you want. Then you need to believe that it's coming to you, and then the third thing is you have to you have to be ready to receive it. So where most people get caught is they can ask for something, they will kind of believe it,
Right, right.
and then they'll be expecting to receive it, and they're like, well, where is it? How come it didn't show up?
Yeah.
Right? So ask, believe, receive. It's really that simple. And by asking, it means you have a vision or you have a goal or whatever it is, however you want to define it. Believing it, I mean, this is something, and if you follow Think and Grow Rich, I mean, this is right out of the book of Think and Grow Rich. And I think even Rhonda says that, is
Mm,
that Napoleon Hill says every day wake up and get into the feeling and now that it's here, even though it might not be here. Your subconscious doesn't understand the difference.
right, right.
Right?
That's
And
because this is a dream.
that's right.
And once we get clear on that, we can change the dream. Just like if we're having a nightmare at night, we can wake up and go, oh, that was only a nightmare, and change it and
Mhm.
start thinking more pleasant thoughts, right? We can
Yes,
do the same thing with our lives that are in the 3D world.
exactly.
We don't have to be stuck. And the other thing Rhonda mentions that I've experienced, the revelation that we have all this power and God is within us, it is so simple that we can't see it. And that's what came to me. It was like, oh my God, it's so simple.
Yeah.
It is so simple. And you've heard that story about when God decided to hide. He said, should I hide at the bottom of the ocean? Or no, they'll find me there. Or ultimately, the easiest place to hide is within everyone.
Yeah.
That's the last place because they're looking out with their five senses. That's why meditation so important. Go within.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, for those of you that are very religious as well, there's a spot in the Bible, and believe me, I'm not a very religious person. I don't follow religion the way that it's taught, but I do understand one scripture that was really said, and it says the kingdom is in the palm of your hand. So
Mm,
what is he actually talking about? Does he mean like an actual city, like I don't know, size of New York or whatever? No, he's talking about your kingdom, whatever you want to create. It's literally in the palm of your hand. The question is are you really willing to go out and get it? Are you willing to wake up from this dream and just really do the things, the purpose on why you're here? Are you ready to live your purpose? And I think most people, and this goes a lot deeper, but most people have a lot of healing that they have to do first from previous lifetimes, whether you believe in that or not. As I have been studying and doing emotion code, I have really found out that there is a lot. This part, the spiritual part, goes much deeper than just here and now. There's lots of things that's happened in past lives that, whether you know it or not, you've carried along with you. And I'm connected with a very well-known person that I've been working with on that. And you know with Rebecca's silver ultramind teaching and going into emotion code, learning all of this stuff, learning how to apply it and use it, my goodness, it's so amazing and it's so awesome. And so we're almost out of time, but if you we're going to put the links down below. And if you're interested in taking Rebecca's course, getting it from her app, we'll put the app link in there for you too. We only have it on Apple right now. We'll be out for Android soon. They just haven't, Google just hasn't approved it yet for whatever reason. I mean, they go through their things and you know how things are. It is there. Rebecca is going to be holding a time soon that you're going to be doing a live class, a 2-day class again. We're
right.
also coming out. You're also coming out with your own e-course through Acorn Life Mastery. That will be probably around $50 if you want to take it. It won't be. It'll be short and sweet. It'll be nice and easy. And if you want to dive deeper into it, then highly recommend to take her classes and really do her thing in her classes.
And you
Because
can also get my book on the app. I'm selling it for $9.99, the paperback, if you want to sign up for it. It's a really interesting read. My writing partner, Brian and Renee, excellent writer. And it explains a lot of these aha moments I've had throughout my life being on the path and how you can apply them in your life.
cool.
Yeah.
I love it, Rebecca. Thank you so much for being here today and sharing with us. And I hope, as you know, our people that are watching this, I hope that you gain some valuable insights. And if you're really looking to take this and use it and apply it, definitely check out Rebecca's e-course that will have launch soon. You can join Acorn Life Mastery for absolutely for free. I'll put a link in down below for you to join for free. It doesn't cost you anything. If you want to join on Rebecca's mastermind, I think you've only got a couple seats left that you're still taking on your mastermind of other like-minded people that are already in her group. And if you're just looking to reach Rebecca, I'll also put her email address in the comments below. Just reach out to her and have a conversation with her, and just maybe have a discovery call on, if you're stuck and if you just need some guidance or some direction. And Rebecca's so kind and generous and giving, and she'd be happy to give you a hand, figuring all this stuff out and, getting you to live your purpose. I mean, that's what we're all about in Acorn Life Mastery. Is we're really here for, accountability, masterminds, developing leaders, giving, finding people that are helping people find their purpose, and just really living this complete life. We're about to go into, a lot of us anyways, I don't think all of us, but a lot of us are about to go into the fifth dimension. And if you know anything about the fifth dimension, or if you know just a little bit about it, and you want to be part of this amazing opportunity, I mean, now is the time that for you to take that leap and to move forward with it. So I'm hoping that if you like this video, please hit the like button down below. If you want to share it with your friends, and you got some value out of it, we'd love that too. Subscribe to our channel, as we're going to be doing many, many more of this sort of stuff, and giving away and helping as many people as we can heal and live their purpose throughout the world. Any final comments, Rebecca?
Well, you summed it up very nicely. And like Jose Silva was able to envision, this is the next phase of human evolution, the Great Awakening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
all right. Thank you so much. And yeah, this is the Great Awakening. I think you may have heard that term already. And if not even sure what it means, I mean, this rabbit hole goes pretty deep, and we're headed down that way. And very soon is, I think, people are going to be reality. This is what's going to be happening soon. So thanks, Rebecca. I appreciate your time, and we'll catch everyone later. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Adam.